Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that, killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Howdy and hail. Welcome back to another episode of Saturday Night Drive-In. And I'm on camera because my internet's better. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't ask questions. I just think I'll thank Ginger Jesus for this one. Thank you, Ginger Jesus.
I bless, I give it, and I take it away.
No, don't take away. I need it. All right, welcome Saturday Night Drive-In, where we take a break from the week's nonsense and have fun with movies like we used to back in the good old days before Jed was born.
Fair
enough. All right, welcome all. Jed, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. I just finished watching an incredible movie, and I get to sit down with my friends and acquaintance Adam, and we get to talk about it. So I'm very excited to be here for this stream.
Fuck you. That was good. That was a good one. I like that. That was good. All right, and we are joined by Devil. Devil, welcome back to the show. It's always interesting when you're here. Things happen.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, Devil?
Oh, good. Busy today, but I had to make time and get over here because I love this movie. So
yeah, we're starting a little early so the Devil could join us, and I'm happy to do it because McLintock, this is my favorite John Wayne movie. This is a movie I can put on and I can just hear it and I can see what's happening. It's one of those movies for me. I've seen it so many times. I know it like the back of my hand. What the hell is that? Anyway.
Wow.
It's a joke. Screw all of you. I'm back on camera. Anyway, so I love this movie. And I have between my collection and my mom's collection, we have quite the John Wayne movies. I could tap into hers anytime I want to get them. But out of all of them, and I prefer usually the John Wayne World War II movies, I love this movie so much. John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara. Oh, she's the definition of MILF in this movie. I'm sorry. I'm going to get crass right away. She is just, that was a beautiful woman. And his favorite leading lady. There is a story once. She was back long ago when, before she passed on, she was giving those interviews to Turner Classic Movies back in the day. And she gave an interview once about how she and the Duke were out taking a drive and he was drunk off his ass. And he pulls up to a random house and he gets up, goes up to the door, knocks, and an elderly couple opens the door and says, "I'm John Wayne and I want a drink." What do you think they did?
Give him a drink.
They invited him inside and they had a drink. when the Duke comes knocking, you open the door and you say, "Yes, sir. Let's sit down, have a drink."
So he's basically McLintock in real life, is what you're saying.
I guess. I mean, it's just such a good movie. So, Devil, when was the first time you saw this movie?
Oh God, it's funny because I didn't watch westerns when I was young. I got to them around high school, and my dad happened to have a VHS copy of McLintock.
Oh, wow!
And so I had watched a couple other westerns on, the TV, Turner Classic Movies type situation. And so I was all, I'll put it in, didn't know what it was about, didn't know anything about it. And at that point, I hadn't seen a Western comedy. Everyone I saw was serious. So I watched it and I went, oh my God, that is freaking so good. Like I said, I can't tell the year, but yeah, it was about 14, I think I was at the time. So
I think I was around the same age in my teens. I think it was on TV and my mom said, "Watch this." And I did, because that's how, well, when I was younger, she trained me. She said, "This is a good movie. You need to learn these movies. You will watch this." And I did watch it, and it was just so much fun. I mean, Jed, when did you come to experience the glory that is McLintock?
I was probably around the same age as you guys, probably early teens, and I watched it a lot at first, but I haven't seen it in a good 10 years, so I watched it a lot for that first year and then haven't seen it since. I didn't remember a whole lot of it, but as soon as I heard those lines, I'm like, I used to quote these lines all the time, especially the one, it's a great party, but no whiskey. We go home.
Yeah,
I did that all the time as a teenager, and I'd forgotten about it, so it's very nostalgic for me, awakening memories I didn't know I had.
There are so many great lines in this movie, one-liners. Crazy family, drink too much, yell all the time. Crummy family. No, sorry, crummy family, drink too much, yell all the time. Fire me, I kill myself. I love it. Yeah.
Those are all examples of why this movie would not fly.
Oh no! Oh,
yeah.
The Wokies hate this movie.
I'm not surprised.
Just for the spanking alone, they hate.
God.
But they hate it, period, because this movie. There's a core to this movie. I'm going to jump right into it. There's a core to this movie. And hail to the chat. We hope you're enjoying this. If you're enjoying good time, hit that like button whether you're watching now, live, or on the re-upload. We hope you enjoy the rest of the show. This is a movie about masculinity. This is a movie about men acting like men and women. And here's the dirty little secret. Women liking masculine men.
Except for the one super gay boy, the junior.
Well, he got ditched. He got ditched.
He did, though.
Yeah. Once
he got some
Jerry Van Dyke.
Yeah, Jerry Van Dyke. Yep. Yeah, he
was a Van Dyke. The whole time I was looking at him, I'm like, he looks just like. I didn't know that.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. That's Jerry Van Dyke. And of course, let's talk about the cast real quick then. John is the Duke. Maureen O'Hara, one of the greatest pairings. Their chemistry is outstanding, and the Duke's son, Patrick Wayne.
Yep,
he's in this. One of my only fans. I mean, he's one of my only criticisms of the movie. His performance when up against his father and everybody else.
He's better in Big Jake, I think.
Yeah.
Who was his son?
He plays the young guy who he hires on.
Yeah, plays Dev.
Who ends up with his daughter.
I figured that who would be, but yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that is the Duke's son. That is his the fruit of his loins. So he's my one of my few small criticisms on the movie. I have a couple of others that I'll get to later. They're very inconsequential, but when you've watched this movie as many times as I have, I mean, I watch this movie probably 6 times a year. I'll watch this movie.
Wow,
it's a feel-good movie for me.
No, 100%.
It's someplace I'll go when I just want comfort. It's like I could put it in. It's going to fill me with joy. At the same time, I could put it on in the background and not have to look at it. Like I said, it's there. I can see it and not have to see it. So I watch all the time, but it's small. We're talking like nerd nitpicks that I have for this stuff. But either way, all right. So the cast is mostly great. It spares no punches for stereotypes at all.
None whatsoever.
Yet at the same time, I mean, it may be a little stereotypical with the Indians, but it still pays respect to them.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one thing that I love about these classic westerns, especially the John Wayne ones and the Louis L'Amour books, they do it as well, is the way that they portray Native Americans. It's not in the modern sense where they're just victims. Oh, they can do no wrong. Oh my God, it's so terrible what happened to you. No, they're strong, proud people that are worthy of respect. And these men, like McLintock, yes, they were enemies, but you can honor your enemy. You can respect your enemy and know what's happening to them is wrong. And so this dichotomy between good men in the West with Native Americans is a trope that I vastly enjoy. And this movie pulls it off very well because the Native Americans, they didn't deserve what happened to them, obviously. And the movie doesn't say that they did, but it doesn't like preach to you. It's just like, all right, this is their culture. They'd rather go out in a blaze of glory. So let's give them that blaze of glory.
And it doesn't change the history.
No.
It's just this is the history.
Doesn't try to rewrite it.
And it doesn't spit on America to do it either. It's just, no, this is the way it was. And they even show the incompetence of the Indian agent. That guy's a fucking idiot. He's your government at work is what he is. And I think that was a nice little extra to put in there. Look at the incompetence, trying to a wispy soy of a man trying to tell these grown men what to do. Now, when you're after what I have to say, we go. We go.
Multiple times in the movie, they point out the incompetence of government. A lot of different parts of it. Not just that, but them trying to get the homesteaders onto the land that won't grow anything. The what was it? The governor or whatever hitting on his wife, like trying to get with his wife, even though they're still married, like, you know, just so he could get the land or something. There's a lot of, it shows a lot of corruption and stuff.
And right away, I mean, for people who are completely unfamiliar with the movies, basically it takes place over about a week's period where GW, George Washington McLintock, played by the Duke, he's getting ready for the homecoming of his daughter from college. At the same time, he gets surprised by his wife who comes home, Catherine, played by Maureen O'Hara, who wants a divorce for reasons we don't know till the very end of the movie. And even then, I'm going to ask that question when we get there. I'm going to ask the question about that. She wants a divorce. She packed up and left 2 years ago. GW doesn't know why, but suddenly she comes back. So because Rebecca, or they call her Becky's, coming home. And at the same time, then it's just that time of year where there's a bunch of festivities going on. And there's a side plot where the Comanche chiefs are being released from their imprisonment by the U.S. government. And we just talked about it, where they want to have their one last stand. They want to be not treated as wards of the state. So that's the basic story. And within it, like Devil said earlier, comedy happens. Great moments, great character development. And a story about, in my opinion, like I said before, men and women and relationships and what goes into it, and how much are you willing to take, how much work you're going to put into something. And at some point also then, when do you realize what the hell's going on? I need to ask, why are you feeling this way? It's also, and I don't want to get mushy about this, it's love. There's love involved in all this too, because GW loves Katie. He loves her. And he doesn't understand why she left. But he won't give her a divorce because she wants one, won't give it to her. And she spends the whole time trying to dig into him. But at the same time, when you watch as the movie plays out, there are moments where she doesn't really want the divorce. After he comes home from the failure of the trial or the hearing for the Comanche chiefs, and he goes off, comes home drunk off his ass, and he's saying, Catherine, McLintock, I'm home. And as soon as she hears him come, she's all giddy. She's been angry at him for 2 acts of the movie, but suddenly he comes a calling, and she's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get some. And she's ready to go out, but then of course runs into the new housekeeper, and we have a problem. She gets mistrued. But anyway, we'll get to we'll get to our favorite scenes as we go through, because that's one of the ways I want to go through. Let's talk about our favorite scenes, favorite interactions. Overall, the structure of the movie easy first act, beautiful introduction to everybody. I think second act, the stage is set. We know what we know what all the side plots are. We know what all the relationships are. And then the third act is a tumultuous, a little bit chaotic events as they all come together and things explode. Is that a fair assessment, Jed?
Yeah, no, everything is set up just the way you let it out. It's a slow build. It feels like a slow build to me because it takes really the first hour for everyone to get into place. But as soon as everyone's into place, as soon as his daughter arrives, things just explode and start going at 100 miles an hour. And it's set up so well, considering its massive cast. A lot of primary characters, named characters that have big impact on the plot, whether or not they seem like throwaway characters at the beginning, like the homeless dude with the kidney trouble.
Bunny.
But yeah, everything has a purpose, even with that slow build and ultimate explosion of speed.
And it works, Devil. And even though Jed says it's a slow build-up, we're okay because these characters are instantly engaging and the comedy.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's really good. I love that right off the bat, it tells you who he is, McLintock. You know, he has his way of doing things. He has his moral code and stuff like that. Like when the kid first approaches him for the job, and he gets all offended because he thinks, I don't like asking for a job. I feel dirty doing it. And he tries to punch McLintock, and he says, look, I'm giving you a job, fair day's pay for fair day's work. I'm not giving you shit, essentially. And I just love the kind of dynamic that right off the bat they give you who he is in kind of a nutshell.
Well, it's later similar to how he describes the Comanches with that letter that he reads out for them. Is charity is a great thing for widows and orphans, but if a man is to accept charity, he's no longer a man, and if he's not a man, he is nothing. That's a very similar moral code to what you just described, Devil, to McLintock's own moral code. He's not going to give this guy anything, and that guy's not going to give anything to him. It is an exchange, and it's going to be fair. It's a very Native American way of looking at things, at least from the perspective of the film.
The movie sets the tone of that kind of thinking right away, that these are men who do work and expect results. When we mentioned, when he's talking to the settlers and he gets everybody's attention and he says, okay, you people are going to have to work this land that's not meant to be worked in this way. It's good for cattle, but it was made by God for the buffalo. And you have to understand, when you're 3,000 feet above sea level, it hates the plow.
Yep.
And they don't want to hear that. Well, you begrudge us some free land. He says, no, nobody gives you free anything. If you make that land work, it's yours. But there's no free. And then it carries on to the next part when Dev wants the job and Bunny says, you have to beg. And he says, I hate begging, and the whole punch thing, which is comical. And I love the way some of the fights happen in this, and you see the power levels of all the characters, especially when some of the comedy happens later. It's like certain characters are just very strong, and other characters, there is a weight class. It shows beautifully how even men cannot fight men of a different weight class, which again, we comment all the time, the 90-pound waif girl taking on the 300-pound man. When Dev tries to take out Fauntleroy during the thing.
Hey, that hurt.
and he's punching him and nothing happens, but then GW comes in and does, okay, let's do this fair. What? I love that scene when he just does all the cheap shit. And it shows you that while Dev couldn't hurt him, even GW just messing with him, that level of his power. That's a man could hurt him, hurt a bigger man. But that back to the main point, away from the joke of it, you have the idea of, again, I will pay you a fair day's wage for a fair day's work, and both our heads are held high. But then you understand the depths of empathy when they go to pick up Dev's mom and his sister, and they see the, I don't want to say squalor, but the level at which they're subsisting right there. And he says, you go pay him now until McLintock pays his men a month in advance, because he sees they're struggling right then and there. And I like the tone it sets of men are going to be men, but we're going to treat women well, but we're also going to be fair. It's that concept of just working hard and earning things, and that this movie sets the stage for that right away.
Yeah.
It's pretty much in every scene. Like for example, one of my favorite scenes in the film is where McLintock is talking to his daughter after.
I was going to go there next. I was going there next. Nice.
That's my favorite scene
because it sets up exactly what you're talking about as well. As hard work is the most important thing to McLintock, and he is telling his daughter this. It's like, I have all this money, I have all this land, but you're not really getting anything because there's nothing more valuable than the bond between a man and a woman when they build something for themselves. And he wants him to have what he had. He wants her to have a great life, and a great life is only had by the labor of your own hands.
But now we got to understand, GW is massively wealthy, but he built it all by himself, and you get that through the backstories. I love it how the little stories give us just enough lore to understand where they all were in the early days. But he built his wealth. He defended his land from Comanche. He bought his land, turned the forests into lumber mills, has mines, has massive cattle herds. So he's got millions of acres, probably hundreds of thousands of acres. I don't know, 100,000 acres. He has got so much land. But like you said, Jed, he says, I'm not going to give it to Becky, so I'm not going to give it to all, but he's still going to give her 500 acres of her own, and whoever she ends up with, which is, of course, Dev. And
because there's something magic that happens between a man and a woman when they have so much growing together.
Yep. And she's still going to get something, but she's going to have to make it work. He just says acres. He doesn't say cattle. He doesn't say the mine, doesn't say anything, just the acres, and you make that work. And there'll be something. And of course, what I love about that scene too, and like you said, that's the lesson of you earn what you get. You learn to respect yourself. You learn to respect the person you're with. But it's kind of an interesting two-way moment. One, Becky, she comes there concerned about her parents because she sees there's a problem between them when she comes home like this. At the same time, though, which leads to this portion of the discussion we just had, when she calls Catherine petulant. And GW, and again, that's even, you go back that far, and there's still a commentary of just because you've been to school doesn't mean you've learned anything.
Yep.
To call her petulant says, do you understand the woman that was your mother, what she did to raise you, what she did a long time? We'd already heard a couple of stories where she went to trade in the metal at Birnbaum's for just some condensed milk to feed her when she was born. When she was there, when she and GW fended off all those Comanche with just a couple of rifles. I mean, makes her say, do you understand what your mother did to raise you? Sometimes when I wasn't even there. Don't just throw out words you don't understand the meaning to, because you haven't lived the life yet with somebody else. And then, even though I think she learns less, she says, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you and mama. Family dynamic, guys. Family dynamic. We praise it when it happens now and again, but back in the olden days of cinema, family dynamic was prevalent across the board. And when it's missing, we feel it missing now. And when we get a taste of it again, we're like, wow, I love this. It feels good. Especially when you have a movie like this, which has the blood relatives who are family, but it also has that dynamic of non-blood family and all the side characters.
Oh, the whole town raised her, so they all feel a familiar connection to her. She calls them all aunt and uncle and whatnot. But yeah, there's nothing more valuable than family dynamics, and that's something pretty much every human being has experience with. And the few that don't, it is great to see something like that. So when something so fundamental to the human experience is missing, it leaves a gap, just like you mentioned. And the reasons why are deplorable, why it's missing. But it's a great example of how you actually do seeing yourself on screen. Modern day, it's so superficial. It's like, this person looks like me, so I see myself on screen. Well, why don't you see yourself in a family dynamic like this? Why don't you see the benefits of having relationships like McLintock does, or having friends and extended family that aren't blood relatives like his daughter does with the town? That's the type of stuff that audience members should, and always did in the past, see themselves in these types of films. And modern day, we've boiled it down to so superficial. It's about relationships and character that we should see ourselves in and relate to, not in superficialities.
And respect. There's something, this movie, one of the themes of the movie is respect for people who've earned it. Early on, again, those early scenes when we're getting introduced to everybody, GW is talking to the father and the son. I suddenly forgot the name of it's this, you know,
Douglas?
Mick Douglas?
No, not Douglas, not
just,
Douglas. No, not Douglas, the other cattle guy and his son, who has made the partner, I suddenly forgot the name. I watched it 2 days ago and I'm suddenly forgetting the name.
Young, the hothead?
Yeah, the hothead. Young, calls him Young. The guy who Dev fights before.
Yeah, Ben?
Young Ben. Thank you. Old Ben and Young Ben. Thank you. Good job, Jed.
Ben Sage? Isn't his name Sage?
Sage. Excellent. Thank you, Dad. Yes. When he's talking to Old Ben, and they're talking about what it's like for the for the settlers, they're gonna cut out the herds of that, and then Young Ben talks back to McLintock, talking about some of us feel put upon and don't want to say it, and he says, "You interest me, Young Ben." And he talks on. He says, most people call me, my friends and people might call me GW, but everybody else will call me Mr. McLintock. And he says, well, I'll call you Mr. McLintock, not because I'm afraid of you, because you've earned it. And it's the respect. And then a few minutes later, when Douglas shows up to blow hard that whole thing, then when the sheriff comes around, and he says, Mr. McLintock, and then Douglas goes, why don't you call me? Why don't you just call me Douglas and not Mr.? You call him Mr. He says, well, because I think he earned it. It's like, oh. Yet then there's a small critical error, though. And this is one of my few criticisms. 2 scenes later, during the Indians who are coming in, who are going to set up near the clay field, before, which is going to set up to the scene, he calls him Mr. Douglas then. I feel like somebody did 2 different takes and forgot to mention the moment where the sheriff said, I don't respect you, Douglas, so I'm not going to call you Mr. One of my few errors, and it always sticks out for me. Respect, it's important. And how Dev wants to earn his respect. How Catherine comes into town, and she holds her arrogant stature that she's acquired while being off in the East, and she wants everybody's respect.
Yeah.
She's demanding it.
Demanding it. Ooh, that's a good
She
point.
demands it from everyone who used to be her friends and peers. She's lording over them like she's somehow superior. And it's that false bravado, that desire to think you've earned it, to demand it. That's where the dichotomy between McLintock and his wife are most clear. He's earned every bit of respect he's gotten. She's demanding it, and that's why, sucks to say it, she had to be put in her place at the end.
Yeah, she caused chaos, right, Devil?
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, it goes to exactly what she wanted from him and why she left. She wanted him to come after her. Yes. She wanted him to essentially admit through his actions that she meant something to him, and that's why him chasing her through that whole thing was, you know, him having to earn it back. And then when he finally whoops her ass, he earns it, starts walking away. She's all, "Oh hell no, you didn't," and chases him.
And then she doesn't give a shit. Yep. Katie just grabs onto the back of that wagon, bumping up and down, and has a look of, yeah, I'm hanging on. I don't care what any of y'all think. I'm going to go home and get some D now. that's what happened. That's what happened.
She got humbled. She went back to being the person she used to be before wealth changed her. Yeah. Now, the spanking with her is very behavioral, but I like to compare it to the original spanking with the daughter earlier, because even more so than her mother, she deserved it. She was begging her dad to murder someone.
Yeah, that's
so like, I'm called. Yeah, it's like, I want you to kill him, and she was trying to get him killed. He was well within his rights to spank the shit out of her. That whole scene is hilarious, though. At the same time, it's like, Daddy, if you love me, shoot him, Daddy. You shot him.
You're my daughter, and I love you. But I love it that he just shoots him with the starter pistol, which is a blank.
If he dies, he'll be the first person ever to die from a blank cartridge.
I love it. I love it. I want to talk about character relationships, but let's take a moment. Favorite scenes, because I could go down the list. Let me start. I'm gonna start the clay fight. The clay fight.
Of course.
That is my favorite scene because there's everybody's on display there. It's chaos, and of course, I put that in my intro for this show for a reason. First of all, because he says pilgrim. He says pilgrim. Because that's one of the most memeable things that John Wayne has associated with his legacy. Pilgrim. And he said, I just love that. I haven't punched a man in 20 years. And I won't. Hell, I won't. Just boom. And then it starts. But here's what I love about that. He brought McLintock writers with him, knowing shit was gonna go down. So you have this massive fight where you have the settlers, you have the writers, you have some randos in there, and then you got the Comanche just going, watch it.
They're so entertained by it, like watching the guys roll down the hill.
Yeah, and the score is perfectly timed because it's got the lilting up and down and things fighting and this and that and going, everybody sliding down to the clay pit, and it's basically. The countdown is when will GW get thrown in the clay pit? He right to the very end, and everybody's action is great. GW starts the fight. Everybody's in there. Dev is throwing punches, fights with the young Ben with the father of the girl who was just off taking a sunrise walk, and Katie. Stabbing people with the pin from her hat
until she gets knocked down in there.
Until she stabs GW in the ass, and then he just unknowingly backhands her and sends her flying down. And when she goes down there, they all see that it's her, and she's just like, "Don't bow to me! Get out of my way!"
Well, it's doing so much, that scene. It's not just action. It's not just comedy. The character development in alone is astronomical. There's very little dialogue, but we can see why everyone's doing what they're doing, why they're thinking, their motivations, their relationships to other characters. And just like you said, Katie regressing almost to who she used to be. Like she's thrown off caring about how pretty her dress is or how she's better than everyone. She's like, this is a rabble,
dude,
and I know what to do.
The next scene, the next day, when Deb's mom comes in, I can't remember her name either. Mrs. Warren comes in and says, "Well, Mrs. McLintock, you have a black eye. Did Mr. McLintock give it to you? No one gave it to me. I earned it. I earned this in the fight." And again, strong female characters.
Absolutely.
Without being over the top. When she's in that fight, she's not throwing haymakers. She has a weapon, and she's stabbing people with it.
In the ass. What if
in the ass.
How cruel.
And what I love about that, like you said, great character development. McLintock gets knocked down a few times. Running Buffalo keeps going, "Great party." Yeah, great party. And they go through the whole thing. And at one point,
very funny.
Very funny. Yeah, very funny. And I love at one point where it's the chaos, and some dude just walks in front of GW, goes, "Get out of my way." Just takes one hand, tosses him into the pit with one hand. It's chaos, and I love it. It's hysterical. And then it ends with one of my favorite lines of the movie. "Oh, McLintock, great party, but no whiskey. We go home."
Yeah,
I love it. All right, Jed, what after that, what's your favorite scene after that?
We already knocked out my two favorites, the conversation with his daughter, and then the clay fight was going to be probably my second favorite. I can't think. They're all great scenes. I could mention when they're drunk on the staircase together.
Yeah, I love it.
There's the either spanking scene. There's just too many good scenes.
It's a great line. Once upon a time, we used to wash each other's backs. We had a good time doing that. It's like, of course we did, Mr. McLintock. And she goes, talk. Devil. All right, Devil, do you have another favorite scene?
Probably one was the daughter scene that, like I said, that the way he talks to her and stuff, it just is it's a kind of a conversation any parent should, with money should have with their kids. Barely do though. But two is on the drunken stare scene after it's all over. After she takes the lady up and he's laying down on the ground, and the guy comes and wakes him and goes, GW, DW. He goes, wake up. He goes, why? How'd I get this knot on my head? And he goes, you were there, and she was
Mrs.
there.
Warren was there, and then Katie. Katie came down.
He is so underrated. He does such a great job in this film. He's got some of the best comedy in it as well.
Oh yeah, I love that moment when Katie bops him on the head with the bottle of whiskey. My name is George Washington McLintock. And what I love is during that scene, when after the women are done having their moment of understanding, where Mrs. Warren and Katie come to an understanding, then suddenly his eyes just go, bing, ladies, I will take you to your room. You're going to kill us all.
I was wondering when I saw it this time, was he expecting to get a threesome?
No, I don't think so.
Bro, that's my head canon.
That's where my head would have been too. I'd have been like, this is an opportunity.
Yes. I'd pay for that porno.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Both those ladies were gorgeous.
Oh yeah. Well, see, now Maureen O'Hara aged beautifully as she got, and unfortunately, the chick who played Mrs. Warren, she got fat and old. It was pointed out to me in Oscar, the Sylvester Stallone comedy. She's actually the mother at the beginning of Oscar of the dying character there. So
she also played the monster. She was the mother in the Monsters. There's this one picture of her in a freaking spider web bikini type thing, and yeah, change your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, again, beautiful women, and women looking like beautiful women. I mean, they dress them in appropriate era style, but all the women look beautiful in this movie. They all look beautiful. And again, Maureen O'Hara. And then this is like middle-aged Maureen O'Hara. We want to go all the way back to Quiet Man, younger Maureen O'Hara. Oh, man. We're going to have to do that one eventually. That's one of my favorites. I love The Quiet Man. Anyway, all right. So let's see another scene before we talk about the character relationships. That's where I want to go for the remainder here. I guess let's talk the final scene where he chases her through the town. It's the culmination, because I love for the fact, and here's the what. Let's go back to the beginning of the movie for a minute. When he first learns Katie's in town, he knows she's up in the room. He gets the key. He goes in, even though he has the key, and they had their conversation with one of my favorite lines, where there's 50% of the world is women. Why has it got to be you that stirs me? And then just kisses her because you animal. That's the story. I love that. But think about that scene, the setup there. He came in calm, collected. And then at the end, when she's cleaning up, he just kicks down the freaking door, gets up on the bed. I want to know why you walked out 20. And he even has his hands on his hips. And here's the thing. So then we learn why she walked out. Because he came home from someplace and had lipstick on his collar. Now, I'm going to pose this to you, gentlemen. Do you think GW cheated on Katie? Or do you think it was just a moment where GW likes to go party? We know he likes to go party, and could have had a woman hanging on him, lipstick on the collar. So, Devil, you say no.
Yeah, no. I don't think that would fly with his morals.
His ethics, his code of ethics.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, he was drinking, he was having fun. A girl might have kissed him on the cheek type situation, but it wasn't cheating situation.
Yeah. Jet.
I don't think he did anything improper, because if he did, he wouldn't be so confused by why she left. There would be a good reason for her to leave, but the entire film up to that point has put her in the wrong, with McLintock as the relative victim per se, not necessarily victim, but the wronged party in this separation. And so I don't think that's congruent with the film if he had actually cheated on her.
Because here's the thing. She's been gone 2 years out east. Never once in the movie is it alluded to during those 2 years that there was any hanky-panky while she was gone, that he didn't do anything. Even though we've got the brothel girls, the whores are in, the town has whores. They have whores, but he knows them because he goes to the bar and he drinks a lot. One of the opening lines is, that's because the joke of throwing the 10-gallon hat onto the weather vane, never miss it. Must be a record. Where they say that's the 8th time this, 7th time this month, 6, no 7, no 6. Once was a birthday, that doesn't count. So GW likes to drink a lot. And he likes to party a lot. And I think we would have had more of a conversation from his friends, from Drago, from Birnbaum, from everybody else, from the sheriff, would have gone on if he was that kind of guy. That would have been his reputation. And that you can tell from the way all the other men act around him, that's not his reputation. So I agree with both you. I agree with what Devil said, that it doesn't fit in his code of ethics to cheat, especially the way he talks about Katie with reverence and respect. And he still loves her. That line, 50% of the world is women. Why does it have to be you that stirs me? That means he has no eyes for any other woman. That's what that line translates to me. He doesn't have eyes or desire for any other woman but his wife, who also happens to be drop dead fucking gorgeous. So I don't believe he cheated on her either. I believe this is Katie. Her Irish temper got the better of her, and she misunderstanding. And instead of asking him about it, kept the shirt. In that one line, if you can't miss it, if you don't hear it, you miss it. Says, I kept it. I had the answer. So she kept the shirt with the lipstick on. He says, I don't care. And then the chase begins. And everybody sides with him and betrays her at every turn.
Well, she's been mistreating them the entire movie. Right. I don't think they care whether or not she's in the right at this point. It's like, man, she has it coming. She has it coming.
Although, even in the middle of it, when she falls in the horse trough for the water, and she gets out, and then there's Camille, the chief whore. Oh, Mrs. McLintock, you're all wet. So are you. She pulls her right in. Even in her moment of shame, she still manages to show a little pride and get that. And then when GW comes up, lifts her up, GW, the wrong woman. Oh, throws Camille back into the water and goes after Katie. And the whole thing. So the chase, it's the buildup, it's the emotional thing, and then we get the spanking. You get the spanking, and he does it with a small iron shovel, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's like the scoop coal or something in your little fireplace or something. It's And
then he said, and I love it at one moment, and now everybody's standing there watching her, even Becky. And when it's over, he looks to Dev and says, "Here, you might need this." And then the look on Becky's face is this.
And Dev's just like grinning like a child.
Well, maybe he's into the rough stuff. I don't know. But
maybe. She definitely is.
Yeah. They were making out in the hay bale during the whole thing. It's like, it's like, Dev, we think we're safe? Yeah.
And then I love, because what they say later is they're like, that's when they got engaged, is in the hay bale, basically, too.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, I want to kiss you, but we gotta say some words first.
Yeah. Will you marry me? Yes. All right, let's get tonguing. But it's a great thing, and that leads to and then of course he says you could have your divorce. Drago, let's go home. And then we cut to the final scene. No more trips, no more government, no more balls, no more East. Yes, GW, yes, GW. Happy day. And then the kiss, and then it's happy ending. But I want to talk about the relationships with the final minutes of today's show. I really appreciate the time they take to build these relationships in this movie. Step by step, with slight backstory drops here and there. But Jed, that's one of the things we complain about all the time. Exposition in modern day movies. When they give these backstory drops to flush out the characters and the history surrounding them, it just works, doesn't it?
For the most part, yeah. The exposition slots in perfectly. There's someone who doesn't know, or it's done in a playful way, or someone genuinely doesn't know, like McLintock. He doesn't know why she left him. So throughout the movie, when people ask, like Becky, ask him why they separated, he doesn't tell them. So it builds up for the exposition when it's time for Maureen O'Hara's character to tell him. But there is one piece of exposition, though, that I think was a little clunky, is when the...
I bet I know what it is. Go ahead, though. I bet I know what it is.
When the storekeeper gives...
When Birnbaum gives the... That is
it was good
cringiest part of the movie. It's a cringe moment. Go ahead. Finish your thought. Yeah, I'm waiting.
I mean, it is a little cringe. It was okay at first when he's like, hey, I found this. It makes me think of you, and describing what the medal's for. But as soon as he says, it's your pappy's, it's like, she knows that. Who doesn't know that in this room? It's McLintock and his wife and you. Yeah. They know who it's for. And it just felt like a hammer.
There's two moments with Birnbaum that are cringe to me. There's that one, which is slight cringe, and the super cringe one, Devil, is when Becky comes home and he gives the speech.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
I was very grateful for the train.
Yeah, just because, first of all, it's very strange. That felt weird. That's one of the few scenes in the movie that feels weird to me, but it's also at the same time, Devil. Every other woman there being told that she's the most beautiful woman in town, the kid's just like, motherfucker. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's just cringe. That's one of the few cringe moments in the movie for him, but it's quickly offset by an actual story point where we learn that the Comanche chiefs have come home. But that's a serious point. So most of the time, like Jed said, the exposition drops are not forced, and they lend to it. We get this bits of story of why GW and Katie are together, their relationship. We learn about Drago and GW bits and pieces. We learn about GW and the Comanches and everybody Comanches. They all have these intricate relationships that we understand with just a little bit of information, and it works. We don't need 10-minute dialogues between these people. Just a little bit. And then great action. And then Devil, the comedy, brings it all home, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's a thing that really set it apart for me because not many Westerns put too much comedy. There's a couple like in Big Jake, another one with John Wayne. There are little bits and pieces, like when he knocks him on his ass and says, you can call me father, you can call me a son of a bitch, I think, or something like that. But if you call me daddy again, little comedy stuff like that's thrown in Westerns plenty. But this one, it runs throughout it. It's very prevalent, and it just makes it so a good, rich story.
It's endearing.
Right? Yeah.
And that's why I consider this one of my comfort movies, because you can turn it on. The comedy is wholesome. Listen, I love toilet humor as much as the next guy. It makes me laugh no matter what. Fart jokes, poop jokes, we all laugh. We're all little boys inside. Never gets old. But they don't resort to that in this movie. They resort it's all straightforward humor. It's a lot of sight gags. It's a lot of innuendo humor. I mean, like we said, you could wash my back, I could wash yours. A little innuendo humor. It's subtle. One of my favorite humor moments is, and it's not so much a laugh out loud humor, it's just a smirk humor, when Katie chases him down to Birnbaum's when she gets there and they're playing chess, and Camille is there, the whore. And McLintock goes, Camille, you're on your own. And then Katie comes in and says, hi, Miss McLintock. Now, remember, one scene before, when she wasn't there, Camille had been talking trash about Katie behind her back. Oh, the social arbiter has returned. But then when Katie's on the scene, the alpha female, Camille's just like, oh, hi, I'm just here watching chess because I have a lot of time to kill during the day. I'm just trying to learn it. And she just stands there going like this. Until Camille just gets the hell out of there. And to me, that's funny just because it's That's Maureen O'Hara emoting. Her presence alone is amusing. And again, setting the stage for the rest of the humor for that scene. She wants the drink, fill it, get her the drink, waking her up by brushing her nose with the feather. It's all good. The humor, like Devil said, it sets it up nicely. It's not over the top. I mean, the closest it comes over the top is during the clay fight scene, but even then, it's in the flow. And that's what this movie does. Everything's proper flow. The action is limited. It's limited to certain scenes, certain moments. Like we said, Dev versus Fauntleroy is comical because then John Wayne makes it comical by doing all the cheap moves. Pulling on the nose. I love that when he pulls on the nose. I love it. I love it. Makes me laugh every damn time. And then Fauntleroy just beats the crap out of Dev with one punch. And that young feller fought me a fair fight. It all just sets up well. The humor is perfectly placed. Crummy family. Fire me or kill myself. But you're part of the family. Crummy family. Shout all the time. Drink too much. I mean, I love it. It just works so well. I'm never disappointed. And that's why this is my favorite John Wayne movie. Because I can watch the serious stuff. The World War II movies and get that. I can watch some of the Westerns. I like the World War II movie stuff better. But this is where I get pure enjoyment. And that's why everything about this movie works for me. The soundtrack. Or you guys want to say anything else before we talk about soundtrack? Want to add anything?
No, I'm good for soundtrack.
All right, so on soundtrack. It opens with the theme of the movie in the credits. Down in the country where skies are blue. And then that theme just plays in various ways throughout the rest of the movie. And other scenic moments. It's not a standout soundtrack, but it's all appropriate for each scene. I think that's a good way to put it.
That theme is incredible, though.
Yeah.
That theme is wonderful.
It's an earworm.
It's an earworm.
It's an earworm. When it's still in my ear from 2 days ago. Although some stupid Walmart songs were in my head for a minute today.
Wait, it's in your head? Would you care to demonstrate for us? Because it slipped out of my head. I don't remember it 100% right now.
I'm not saying.
I think the chat wants to know. You're singing the praises of this tune.
The chat is silent as they always are when we're talking, and they're happy with me not singing. Devil, how do you feel about the soundtrack?
I like the soundtrack, but I think it's easy to do Western soundtracks because they kind of have, the sounds for walking, they have the sounds for this and that, and it just long as it has that little twang to it that they tend to have, it fits. But I do like it. I don't, it doesn't stand out the most to me, but it's
that situational work. It's there, it works, it's happy, and it just fits the movie. All right, with that said, let's give it a score and get on out of here. It's my week, so I get to go first. As I said, favorite John Wayne movie. This is a movie filled with what men want to be men, women being women, women wanting men to be men. They want a masculine man. They want them to, like Jed said, chase after them. I love that dynamic of the movie. I love the comedy. I love the appropriate action scenes. I love the acting, the dialogue, the exchanges. It all just works for me. Couple of cringe moments, like I said. Both the Birnbaum speeches, especially the one when Becky comes home. Patrick Wayne. Yeah, we didn't talk about him and Becky, but I didn't think we need to. We didn't need to talk about them. That's kind of tacked out. We care more about GW and Katie. Patrick Wayne, again, it's nepotism. It was nepotism. Let's be honest. He does a serviceable job. He doesn't destroy the movie, but when you have him next to his father, when you have him next to all these other great character actors that are in the movie of the time, it's just not as brilliant a performance as his dad. And he's not his dad. Never was his dad. Never was going to be his dad. That being said, and also that one little nitpick where the sheriff says Douglas, then Mr. Douglas. Somebody forgot to check back of that. All that said, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. It's a comfort movie. I know it's very high, but I find nothing wrong with the narrative. I find nothing wrong with the story. The characters are all perfectly done. There's payoff all around. And I'm not left wondering when I'm done. I'm happy where the movie ends. All right. Devil, as our guest, you may go next. What is your score for this week?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10 too. There's not much I could, negative you can say about it. It just it's put together right. It's got a good flow. The humor is perfect. It's definitely a man's movie, even though it is a comedy. But so I'd give it a 9 out of 10 too.
Okay. Jed.
I'm going to be in a very similar camp to both of you because, yes, this film is impressive. It's my favorite John Wayne movie as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got some great character work. There are major flaws in it, like I mentioned with the exposition in that scene. There's a few other cringe scenes, some acting that isn't 100% in comparison to some other John Wayne movies that I love, like Rio Bravo. So I'm going to have to come down a little bit more than you two and give it a flat 8 as well.
That's fair. That's very fair. That is completely fair because you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the major players in the movie nail it. All the major players, Wayne, 100%. O'Hara, they nail it. And that's who we're here. We're here to see John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. That's who we're here to see. And they give their stellar performances that they gave for their entire career as a leading man and his favorite leading lady. Because that's how it was. That's the story. She was his favorite leading lady. And it shows every time. Their chemistry is perfect all the way around. Okay, that brings us to close again. I have not chosen a movie for next week because we will be here. We'll be a holiday weekend, but Jed and I will still be here to entertain you on that Saturday. Probably the same normal time. Oh, wait, no. Probably going to start later. Probably going to start a little later. I'll let Jed know why in a bit. But we thank you, chat. As always, we appreciate you sitting here with us. If you've had a good time watching live or on the upload, re-upload, hit that like button. Let us know what you think, and we will see you guys next time. So until then, guys, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be. Good night, guys. That one, God damn it. Hit the wrong one. I'm in the wrong mode. I haven't streamed in a week on this channel. I'm in the wrong mode. Here you go. Here we go. The actual L. Good night, everybody.
Chevron 1, encoded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful allied life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your friends. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 encoded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for why you can't, monkey boy.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is blocked.